Today is the yahrzeit of Chaim volozhin. Chaim was the famed Talmud Muvak of the Vilna Gaon. He wrote a fascinating sefer called Nefesh Chaim. In Nefesh Chaim, he describes in a very, very deep level what exactly it means to learn Torah. And he's certainly one person who lived up to what he wrote. And I'll tell you a story that took place in the beginning of the 1800s. Napoleon was on his way to conquering the world, the famed Napoleon, whose goal was to conquer the world. He was passing through Volozhin. This is around the 1820s, I think. And the town of Volozhin, the neighboring towns, actually the non-Jews already left, they ran out. And Volozhin, the yeshiva, the people close to Rav Chaim Volozhin stayed. At night, Napoleon sent a messenger, one of his messengers, to go and find the rabbi. They heard that there was a very holy rabbi, and of course, Napoleon was known to seek out these wise people. He wanted advice. So, this messenger went out, was looking around the town. It was dark already. No gates were open, no lights were on. There was one little light in the synagogue, in the Beis Midrash. He went and he saw this man that was leaning over a Gemara, deep in thought. He went over and he asked, "I'm looking for the rabbi of the town." And Rabbi Chaim Volozhin looked up and said, "You're probably looking for Chaim Volozhin. It's me." Anyway, he told the messenger that the Napoleon wants to see him. And to make a long story short, Rabbi Chaim came to the Napoleon. So Napoleon turns to him and says, "I want to know, I heard you're very, very holy and smart rabbi." And after Chaim Volozhin said, "I don't do any Kabbalistic stuff," but Napoleon said, "Listen, one thing I know, you're very smart and wise." After speaking to him, he said, "I want advice. Should I fight Russia?" The last point, the pivotal point of Napoleon taking over the world was Russia. He wasn't sure. What do? You ask a shayla. So he asked, that's a tradition, he asked of Chaim Volozhin. And Rav Chaim told him the following mashal. He said, "I want to tell you. There was once a wagon driver. He's traveling, and he gets stuck in mud. And this wealthy traveler had the best horses. He had the Arabian horse. He had a horse from Africa. He had a horse from the north. He had the best horses. And for some reason they were struggling. They couldn't get out of the mud. Suddenly, another wagon driver came by with very lean-looking horses. They also got stuck. But after 2 or 3 minutes, the horses were able to pull out. Of course, the wealthy wagon driver, was shocked. And after they somehow helped each other and everyone was out of the mud, he went over to him and he said, "I don't understand. I have the best horses. You have the meek-looking horses. How is this possible?" And the poor wagon driver explained to him, it's very simple. You have 4 of the best, most mighty horses, but they come from different places. And when they get stuck in the mud, everyone's looking to get out. The one that comes from Arabia is looking to get out to Arabia. The one that's coming from the north, his inclination is to run to the north. Each one goes to where they came from. My horses are 2 or 3 horses, but they're from the same family. They're brothers. And therefore, when they are stuck, they help each other out." Said Rav Chaim Volozhin, he said to Napoleon, "You're trying to fight a country that's like a family. You have the most amazing army, but it's made up of different nationalities, different people. And you want to fight a nation that's very united, you're not going to be successful." And the story goes that Napoleon of Maisa didn't necessarily take the advice of Chaim to not fight, but he found out that Rav Chaim Volozhin's words were true. Rav Chaim Volozhin also was the one that started, of course, the Volozhin yeshiva. Rav Chaim Volozhin, as we pointed out, wrote a sefer called Nefesh Chaim, and in it he writes, and I think it's perfect when we're coming off Sheva Brachas of Torah. He says, in many, many places, but just one example, he quotes the Zohar HaKadosh for us to appreciate what it means, one word of learning Torah. He says, and I'll read you the words, Vazohar Emo, and many other places, and this is a Hebrew translation. Ein lecha mila umila mishel moitzi dibur kodesh mipiv. That means every word of Torah that comes out of a person's mouth, nasa koil v'oile lemala. There's a voice, it goes up. Umis'olim kedosha melech ha'elyon. And the holy supernal angels wake up. Umis'atrim beroishai. They crown his head. And then there's a great joy above. And then he continues to explain all the wonders of the dibul shemilin kadishin doraisa, of the holy words of Torah. And to understand this a little bit better, the Zohar HaKadosh quoted in the Chok, the daily Chok, which is also a beautiful learning that mostly Sfardim do, but this is actually based on their results, something that everyone can do. A little bit of Zohar every day, a daily portion of Zohar. And in it today, it's actually yesterday, he says the following. In Pashas Ba'aloshin, he discusses the idea that why are there stories in the Torah? And the Zohar HaKadosh says, God forbid to think that the point of the Torah is to entertain us with interesting stories, especially in Pashas Ba'aloshin, with many interesting stories, with Miriam and Moshe and the Jewish people and the misonim, the complainers. The point of the Torah is not stories, but the Zohar says stories are like a lavush. They are clothing to something deeper. The deeper part of the Torah, inside this clothing, is the mitzvahs. And inside the mitzvahs, there's the neshama of the Torah, which means the deep understanding of everything, of why. And the deeper you go, the more connected we get, of course, to Hashem. And he says when Mashiach comes, the Zohar says, we'll get to nishmasa de nishmasa, the soul of the soul. What the Zohar is telling us, and what Rav Chaim volozhin tried to show us, is that when a person is learning Torah, it's not just another book, God forbid. It's something that connects us to what the Zohar HaKadosh called Ilana Dechai, the tree of life. And in as much, there's 2 points, not just learning it, but understanding and appreciating it, that it's so deep, it's something so powerful, that every word that we learn and we say creates such worlds of good. And we can understand, of course, the opposite too. If that's how powerful positive words, how negative and destructive negative words are, especially when it comes to Lashon Hara. But to focus on the idea, especially today, of chaim volozhin, and maybe this is a perfect time to chaparayin. It's the summer. It's a time where a person now, there's no more, it's not so many chagim, there's not so many yontiv, there's a little bit less, where a person could say, you know what, I'm going to start now making sure that every day I have a daily learning. I'm learning something, and I'm learning with the understanding that this is something so special. And the deeper I uncover, the goal is to uncover as much as we can, not to just learn things superficially, but to be able to ask and always try to uncover why. What is it telling me? And like the Ramban says, don't get up from your learning without asking yourself, how am I going to be a different person today from this information that I learned? Hatzlacha, and the neshama of Rabbi Chaim volozhin should have an aliyah, and we should all also have an aliyah. Hatzlacha.